mentions it's water, the source of life, heavily contaminated for countless Americans, 40 cities tested, 40 plus million Americans drinking, cooking their food, and bathing for our skin, the largest organ, in contaminated water. And look at what they have us breathing in and drinking.
6 pharmaceuticals in our drinking water here. They include ibuprofen, caffeine, monosin, and about 3 or 4 others. In Philadelphia, they had 56 pharmaceuticals or byproducts. They range everything from epilepsy medication to mental health medicines to pharmaceuticals that really run the gamut. Here's the bottom line from the Associated Press on the study they did. It was, as you mentioned, a 5-month investigation involving the AP investigative team. 50 major cities in 50 states were looked at, and drugs were found in the water of 24 major cities. We're talking 41 million Americans here who drink that water. So what's
Top Tip Tuesday, and one of the top tips that we're not taking advantage of is water, agua, what our body is mostly comprised of. Now, I have a dope video with some sick facts going in the story. Check it out. I'm following up with some very alarming videos about how our water has been treated that most people are unaware of, and how it gets into our body, even in the hot steam in the shower, and of course tap, what we boil, what we cook in. There's several ways that it's under attack. This is a TDS meter. What that video doesn't cover is how to test your water. Now, this meter measures water in parts per million, ppm, and my current water, it registers at 1 contaminant part per million in the water. That's bottled distilled water. Distilled water is the water that is recreating the cleansing process that clouds do, nature. So please check out these videos to know what is in our bottled water, and we can alkalize our water on our own. We don't have to pay to Sencha. You can put some key limes in your water, and you can ionize, charge your water to have alkaline water. There are other ways. Grand Rising. Black Friday, and do you know what's in your drinking water? The same water that you cook your food with. Millions of people are making their coffee and tea with, even absorbing through their skin in a high dosage in the shower. Well, I'll tell you right now, there is a lot in there. Watch this water distiller filter this out, and you tell me, what do you see? That's runoff, sediment. The pipes have never ever been cleaned, and on top of that, not only is our sky sprayed, which contaminates our water supply, but listen to the amount of medications in your water.
Look at this. We are talking massive scale. Look at this side right here. Let me flake.
Story on our breakfast tables, Hawk Watchers. Recently, it was revealed that lead and arsenic, yes, arsenic and other metals, have been found their way into your favorite juices. Consumer Reports tested 45 fruit juices currently in stores today and found 21 of them were contaminated. Here's RT America's Trina Chavez with the story.
Parents may want to think twice before pouring a cup of juice for their children or for themselves. That's because experts just found an unexpected and dangerous ingredient. Heavy metals are substances that make their way into food and drinks because they occur naturally in the air, water, and soil. They can also occur during the manufacturing process. And now, after testing 45 popular fruit juices across the country, Consumer Reports found high levels of arsenic, cadmium, and lead. The news particularly alarming because some of these juices are specifically
on our breakfast tables
popular amongst children. In fact, a CR survey of over 30,000 parents found that more than 80% of parents of children 3 and younger give their kids juice. The nonprofit also found that 75% of their kids drank juice at least 1 time a day, and drinking just even 4 ounces a day can cause concern. Experts say that children are particularly vulnerable to harmful effects to heavy metal. Dr. Jennifer Lowry, who was involved in the study, said exposure to these metals early on can affect their whole life trajectory. There is so much development happening in their first years of life. Depending on how long children have been exposed to these toxins and how much they've been exposed to, they may be at risk for lower IQ, behavioral problems like ADHD, type 2 diabetes, and cancer, among other health issues. Previous tests from CR and others have found elevated levels of heavy metals in not only fruit juices, but infant and toddler foods. Rice and rice products are specifically types of fish. And while exposure to heavy metals may be less risky to adults, exposure can still lead to health problems. Over many years, small amounts of heavy metals may raise the risk of bladder, lung, and skin cancer, cognitive and reproductive problems, and type 2 diabetes, among other health conditions. Consumer Reports are now urging the FDA to take stronger action against metals found in food products, especially those marketed to children. Reporting in New York, Trinity Chavez, RT.
Morning with alarming news about what might be hidden in your children's favorite fruit juices. Consumer Reports found the presence of heavy metals in 45 packaged fruit juices that it tested.
Long-term exposure to these substances can cause health problems, and more than 80% of parents with children who are 3 years old or younger give their kids fruit juice. CBS News correspondent Anna Warner breaks down the findings in her report.
As a mom, how do you think about fruit juice?
So it's the bane of my existence.
Sure, can you use your fork?
Mom Stephanie Trilling says she tries hard to keep her 4-year-old daughter away from juice, mostly because of its sugar content.
I'll be at a birthday party and I'll see it on the table and I'll cringe a little inside because it's not something I want to give to my kids. But I also don't want to be that mom who's restricting everything.
But she may have another reason to restrict juice intake. A new analysis from Consumer Reports. James Dickerson is Chief Scientific Officer.
Morning with
I want to talk about detoxification. Your body is basically just trillions of cells and two major fluids, blood and lymph. Blood feeds the cells, lymph is the sewer system. And if it gets clogged, bad things happen. You see, when lymph stagnates, it hardens and turns to acid, which damages organs, glands, joints, etc., causing soreness, inflammation, pain, and degeneration. Acid damage in the brain leads to dementia, in the eyes, cataracts, in the lungs, COPD or emphysema, in the joints, arthritis, in the colon, Crohn's disease or IBS. The list goes on and on. Also, when lymph burns away at cells for a long time, they can mutate and become cancerous. The lymph system needs to be cleaned constantly, yet most adult kidneys are not filtering lymph properly. Dirty lymph becomes a breeding ground for all sorts of nasty creatures like viruses, bacteria, and parasites, leading to ailments like lupus, Lyme, fibromyalgia, candida, etc. The medical community I want to talk about detox. The medical community will want to give you specific drugs to treat individual symptoms, but why try to kill all the alligators when you can just drain the swamp? Detoxification is also essential to purge the onslaught of toxins we're being exposed to, like pesticides, food additives, household chemicals, air and water pollution, radiation, and lots more. Major diseases are on the rise and becoming epidemic. According to our own government, Americans now have more than a 40% chance of getting cancer. If you're an African American, it's almost a 50% chance. 1 in 3 Americans will have diabetes by 2050 if the present trend continues. Coronary heart disease now kills over 400,000 Americans a year. I urge you to get your lymph moving and detox the body now. Here's a test. Pee into a jar. You want it to be cloudy. If it's clear, your kidneys are not filtering lymph and you need to start detoxing immediately. With the help of raw living foods and organic herbs, we can help you return your body to the health and medical community.
Food Fact Friday. This is a positive herpes test, and people thought this was permanent, but this is a negative herpes test just 3 months later. The power of food, herbs, minerals, and detoxing. And this is the testimony about how they thought it was permanent, but then they believed through watching and learning and taking advantage of a full body detox. So if you want to do heavy metal, lung, parasite, and colon repair in one shot and serious about your health, the link is in the bio. Grand Rising.